Alright, so we're back in the world of Path of Exile 2. In today's video, guys, I'm going to be giving you a update on my Pathfinder Werewolf build. This build has undergone some pretty drastic changes, giving my build a pretty extreme amount of defense as well as offense, and I'm comfortably doing tier 15 mass with little to no issue. Recently, a lot of you have told me that you're doing the Pathfinder poison build and it's getting pretty expensive. And this build is going to give you a really solid alternative. I'm at about 1.5 div on this build right now. Most of that it was things you could have picked up and just crafted yourself. I just got a little bit lazy and I'm still doing every bit of content and haven't really seen anything being too hard to deal with. I'm going to just kind of talk you guys through how the build works just so you have a better idea of it, and then we'll go into a little bit more details, and of course Mobalytics will be down in the description to check out. So how this build works is pretty simple. We're going to be taking advantage of the buff called Lunar Blessing, and what this does is it's going to buff you, give you some pretty solid cold damage, and as you attack you're going to be able to drop down these moonbeams that deal insane AoE ice damage, freezing enemies and making it hard for them to just play against you. Due to some of the recent changes, we're able to keep this up permanently at all times as long as we click the button, so you're able to just keep this buff going, dealing solid damage as you go through maps. In addition to this, we're going to be using Lunar Assault. This is going to be our main attack. We added some things to it to make it just swipe really big. And the moment you hit any enemy, generally speaking, you're going to pretty much freeze them, except for the uniques, of course. Some rares can be a little bit defensive, but outside of uniques, you're going to pretty much freeze every single enemy with a singular swipe. You're going to set you up to just blow everything up, and in the event that you somehow get hit because everything gets frozen, we have pretty solid evasion. We're getting close to 7,000 evasion, as well as elemental damage reduction because we are able to convert our evasion to elemental damage reduction, seeing that we are a Pathfinder. Overall, this is probably one of the more comfortable, powerful builds and definitely a different playstyle than what we've seen in Path of Exile. Let's go a little bit in depth on how to set this build up. Alright, so we are on the actual game now, and I want to just go over the skill gems on the left, and then on the right I'll have some general gameplay so you guys can see how the build actually performs in real time. So right now we're running Shred. This is your primary attack. This is going to be really good to proc your crystals as well as make your Lunar Blessing moonbeams come down, and it's a really good re-engaging tool. Shred is such a great skill. We support it with rapid attacks. Rage 3. This is going to give us rage whenever we hit, and we're going to do faster whenever we're not raging, and this just helps get our rage damage up because the attack is really strong. Close combat for extra damage, and then cold mastery to all code skills because Shred is a code skill. We have 23 levels. Our next skill is going to be Lunar Assault. Lunar Assault is a swiping skill that's going to deal extreme freeze damage. We're supporting it with rapid attacks, elemental armaments for more elemental attack damage, close combat again for more close damage, and then we're going to use Ancestral Call. Ancestral Call is going to make it so you get an ancestrally boosted attack every 3 seconds. You'll notice in a lot of the gameplay when we swipe something, sometimes another swipe will hit another enemy, and this ensures that you freeze everything that would in theory attack you, so it's really, really powerful. Next, we're going to be picking up Pounce. We're going to be supporting Pounce with Freezing Mark instead of the Hunter's Mark. This is going to put a freeze mark on them. We're going to use Cross Slash to proc it, and this is going to give us some extra cold damage. We're going to be using Deep Freeze so that whenever we do pounce on top of an enemy, we could in theory freeze them, and then it's going to stay frozen longer. And then we're going to be using Magnified Area so the Pounce have a bigger range. We're also going to be using Cross Slash, as we said a second ago. This is going to pull in ice crystals and hurt enemies, as well as it's going to proc our mark to give us that bonus. We're using rapid attacks 1, this should be a 3. Using rage as well for more extra rage generation. Using execute because this is going to give us more damage when enemies are lower than 50% life. And we're using Culling Strike 2. This is going to help us just secure those rare and unique kills. So it's pretty nice. For another skill, we're going to be using Arctic Howl. This is going to give us and our allies increased damage whenever we howl next to a freeze enemy, and whenever an enemy is primed, this will push them into the freeze state, typically around about 70%. Most bosses as well as uniques will be frozen, so this is going to give you an empowered attack. We're going to be using Deep Freeze once again to freeze them longer. Cooldown recovery for uptime, and then we're going to be using Tireless because it'll help whenever we're attacking because we get extra cold damage to make it so we're not always using all the extra cold damage sometimes, and we'll get more damage uptime. To the absolute star of the show, we're going to be using Lunar Blessing. Again, what this does is it's going to grant us 70% extra cold damage. This is going to give us a pretty solid buff. For each point of rage, you're going to get 0.2 seconds added to this, and it's going to just make you just do a lot of damage, and you're going to see the moonbeams dropping from the sky. You're probably seeing it on screen now. What we have on this is prolonged duration for more duration, cooldown recovery for cooldown, obviously second wind support. You will always have the ability to cast this spell no matter what because of another part of the setup, but regardless, you're going to have second wind. You'll always have 2 charges, so it's really powerful. Magnified area for more AoE, and then of course we have elemental armament. This is our only full 6 link, everything else is 5 link or less, so you should be reasonably able to get this. For our auras, we have 3 actually, but we're not using the third one because we need to fix our spirit. We have Herald of Ice, of course, which is going to be magnified area, Cold Mastery, and then we're using Blind 2. I'm pretty sure you know what Herald of Ice does, but for those who are a little bit newer, it just makes it so whenever you freeze an enemy and kill them, do a cold explosion and it can hurt other enemies, and it just makes your clear a little bit better. Cold Mastery is going to give us plus skills, and then Blind is going to make it so that enemies can be blinded on hand, just give us a little bit more defense. Our other aura is going to be Eternal Rage, and this is 100 spirit cost, which is absolutely ridiculous, by the way, grinding gear games. But it's very useful, unfortunately. But it's going to give us rage per second, and this is mainly used to maintain that whenever we have those downtimes where we're moving in between boss fights, that we will always have rage. And whenever because sometimes we need to kite, sometimes we need to move, sometimes bosses like to monologue for 20 seconds. You don't want to like walk into a fight and don't have your rage, don't have your howl ready, and obviously it'll be faster if you have this just constantly giving you rage, so it's really nice. We're going to be using Clarity for mana sustain. We can take this out later if you want. Once you get your mana into a good spot, we're going to use Clarity, and then we're going to be using Cannibalism just for a little bit of extra life recovery. For our last aura that we don't have active yet because we're missing Spirit because of our gear setup, which we're going to fix probably later today or tomorrow, we have Wind Dancer. This one's pretty obvious. This is going to give you extra evasion per stage. It's going to knock enemies back whenever they hit you and stuff like that. Just an evasion. That is pretty much it for the skills. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. Let's move over to the armor. So moving over to our armor, let's talk about our gear because this has been a little bit different and we changed pretty drastically. So the first thing we have that's not necessarily mandatory, but something that I really think is great for a Pathfinder is Astramantis. Right now, I think it was like 40 chaos for this. So this is our most expensive purchase right now. This one got a really low roll, unfortunately, when we got it, because we actually got it unidentified. So we took a gamble there and we lost. But this is just going to give us a ton of attributes. Our attributes is really important because the Pathfinder is able to, and I'll just show you quickly, the Pathfinder is able to allocate different benefits onto it, so I can get damage because of this passive here on our Synthesis. And so basically, if we have more attributes, we have more stats, and we can use these travel nodes to get more damage, efficiency, or defense. So that's the idea behind me using Astramantis. This is not mandatory in any way, shape, or form. I could even argue having Spirit here would be just as useful, if not more, because I will have the ability to actually support my Wind Dancer. So alternative options would be life, energy shield, some type of resistance, even though we don't necessarily need it. Spirit, of course. Rarity is pretty okay, and anything extra like cold damage or stuff could be used in place of this. This is our biggest and major change in terms of like something that's pricey. The rest of our gear, we made a change from armor energy shield because the armor just wasn't enough to be effective in my opinion, so we went over to energy shield. For our helmet, as you can see here, this is just basic stuff. Energy shield, maximum energy shield, life, and fire and lightning resistance. Pretty reasonable stats. You can probably find this on the ground if you just pick up enough bases. That's how I got this one, and it's pretty nice for me right now. Put a greater iron rune in it, we're good to go. For our chest, we also have a evasion energy shield chest. This one costed me about 15 chaos, so again, pretty cheap. We have evasion, energy shield, maximum evasion and energy, increase energy shield and evasion actually. Attributes requirements is whatever. Intelligence, fire resistance, and spirit. You're going to need a pretty fat spirit on your chest if you go with Astramantis, because you won't have enough spirit to support that insanely cost rage skill, so it's ridiculous, but yeah, you'll need it. For our belt, we haven't had to change over because we want to move this away from armor. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'm sure a little armor doesn't hurt, but we have armor, maximum life, mana, fire resistance, cold resistance, and stun duration. Nothing too special here, just a pretty standard belt. For our gloves, we have added fizz, added cold, unfortunately crit boost, fire and lightning resistance, and then we got maximum energy shield and maximum evasion rating, just to give us a pretty solid pair of gloves for, you know, stats we want. And for our boots, finally we have movement speed, evasion, energy shield, some life, some int, some cold resistance, and then some regeneration. These are pretty expensive, I will say. These are like, I think I got these for 20 chaos. So as I said, this is like a div and a half setup for the build. For our rings, I think I showed you guys this ring yesterday. It has add fizz, life, mana, some resistances. We actually slammed on the second cold resistance on there, so it's pretty nice. And then for our other ring, this is the one I got in the campaign. Same thing, resistances, life, add fizz, and we're good to go. And then for our weapon, this is another item I crafted myself. It had increased fizz, elemental. It basically had the levels on it. It had the cast speed, and I was like, oh, maybe we can do some crit scaling. Well, unfortunately, we got a increased elemental damage with attacks, which is actually pretty good for our damage. I'm having a really hard time understanding which is more damage. Is increased fizz, which I'm sure it is. But my elemental damage with attacks was better than my last weapon. Again, I didn't pay for this. I just found it off the ground and I just like crafted with it. You can probably find something like this for like, I don't know, 10 chaos or less maybe. It was pretty cheap. Charms, we're using a thawing charm, a amethyst charm, and a stone charm, just for stun, for chaos, and for being frozen. Pretty straightforward standard charms. That's all for the equipment. Once again, feel free to leave a comment if you need some explanation on the gear. Finally, ending this off, let's go over our ascendancy and our passive skill tree, because once again, this has had a massive change. So we're going to be grabbing Path of the Warrior, which is going to give us the ability to allocate points on the path, the warrior side, if you're wondering why we grab it. And then we're using Traveler's Wisdom. Once again, it's going to give us the ability to allocate damage, efficiency, or defense on our tree, which we do have efficiency here sometimes, and that's really nice. And then we're using Sustainable Practices. 50% of our evasion rating is going to be grant elemental damage reduction. So you're going to grab Path of the Warrior first, Traveler's Wisdom, then you're going to grab Sustainable Practices, and then finally we're going to be getting Relentless Pursuit, and this is going to give us Unaffected by Slows, which is pretty nice. The rest of these don't really do anything for our build, so yeah, that's why we're using it, so keep that in mind. That's what your ascendancy is going to be. So how you're going to build this is you're going to come over here and grab the Brutal as well as Smash. I wouldn't level like this, by the way. I'm just telling you what you can get. Smash. You're going to also grab Ties of Challenge for the skill duration. Not necessarily something you need, I think, because we have permanent uptime on this, but I don't like pressing the button as much. Over here, we're grabbing Piercing Claw, Swift Claw, and we're going to get Sharpened Claw. This is just going to give us damage and skill speed and penetration to our shapeshifted form. Over here, we're getting Impacted Areas and Impacted Force. This is going to give us area damage and area of effect for our attacks, so pretty nice. Over here, we're going to be grabbing Sigil of Ice for increased damage against shield enemies, and Cold Nature, same thing, increased chill duration as well as cold damage, so it's pretty nice. Mandatory is to get Primal Rage and all the lead-ins, because this is going to give us increased maximum rage, which is pretty big for our damage as well as our duration on Lunar Blessing. Over here, we're going to grab In Your Face. This is going to give us increased damage with damage close range, and Primal Growth. This is going to give you more area of effect if you killed with attack recently. For our gem slots, because this is kind of important as well, you're going to need Recover 2% mana on kill. I got a 1% mana in an energy shield. The rest is irrelevant because it rolled garbage, but that's what you should get because you need it for your mana sustain. I got a 1%, but get a 2%, so your mana is fine. Coming over here, we're going to be losing 1 point on projectile damage, unfortunately, but we're going to be grabbing Agile Succession for attack speed as well as evasion rating if we've been hit. We're going to get Blinding Strike. This is going to give us a damage, some damage as well as blind whenever we hit with attacks. We're also going to be picking up Subterfuge Mask. This is going to give us increased evasion per energy shield on our helmet. Since we have a pure energy shield helmet, you know, it's going to give us some decent amount of evasion. Of course, coming over here for all the decks, we're going to grab the Enhanced Reflexes for more evasion. Deflection rating equal to 1% of our evasion, and then Dexterity. Max Dexterity is pretty nice. We don't have to allocate any Dexterity on our tree at all. And then for our Bestial Skin, this is going to give us some more evasion rating on our body. We do have a hybrid, as you saw a second ago, so this gives us a lot more evasion, so it's pretty nice. Coming over here, get us some extra cold damage and freeze buildup. Movement speed and mana regeneration is pretty big. more energy shield and evasion, and this is going to give us attack speed, cast speed, and some stats with more skill speed up here. We want all these skill speed nodes and mana regeneration. And with this and grabbing some efficiency on your tree, I don't have it here, but grabbing some efficiency on your tree, you should be fine with mana and the 2% mana thing. Coming up here, we're grabbing this concussive attack for more attack and days on hit. Over here, we're grabbing killer instinct for the extra damage on low life and on max life. And then finally up here, we're grabbing the spiritual ward, which is going to give us increased maximum energy shield for 12 evasion rating on our body armor, which again, we have a lot of evasion on our body armor. Besides that, that's pretty much everything for the skill tree. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to leave them down below and I will answer them. Wrapping this build up, I'm just going to show you our stats so you have a better idea of what we're rocking right now. We have capped fire resistance with about 90, capped lightning with about 78, and capped cold. We do have an open slot here, so we could in theory put something if we need it, and then we're going to be working on our chaos next in the near future. For our evasion, we have 6,673 without our Wind Dancer, so this can go up quite significantly. 11% chance to block with our crappy weapon, and then of course with our energy shield, we have 2,140 ES, making us, I believe, according to PoE Ninja, it was like, I don't know, I think it said like 12,000 effective HP or something, so it's pretty nice. We're really hard to kill. And there you have it, guys. That is everything you need to know for the updated Werewolf Pathfinder build. The build feels extremely comfortable, it's relatively cheap, and right now I'm just cruising through the maps. We're doing tier 15s. We're about to go fight some pinnacle bosses if we ever get any drops for them. And right now just feeling pretty good cruising through the maps. As always, guys, I do live stream here on Twitch as well as YouTube just short of every single day. So if you want to come stop by, you have any questions, comments, or whatever, feel free to stop by and I can answer them live. Thank you guys as usual for watching. I really do appreciate you all being here. Come and check out my video. And just like that, Exiles, I'll see you in the next one very soon.